It started with something small, or at least that's what I told myself at first. My parking spot at the end of the row had been mine for 3 years. I paid for the place, I paid my dues where they applied, and every evening I came home expecting to find my car there. For months it was fine. Then one weekend, Karen's son started coming by. He'd roll up, toss his bike into the spot, lean his hoodie against my bumper like he owned the asphalt, and walk away. The first time I saw him there, I knocked on his window politely and asked if he could move. He shrugged and flipped his fingers like it was some kind of joke. I walked around to the manager, filed a complaint, and they said they'd talk to him. The next night, same thing. After a week of polite notices and ignored messages, my patience wore thin. I began leaving notes on his windshield, polite at first, then sterner. Nothing changed. He started showing up earlier, parking like he was marking territory. People in the neighborhood whispered that his mom, the notorious HOA President Karen, had raised him to think rules were for other people. I tried to avoid confrontation. I tried to be the reasonable neighbor. But the more I tried, the bolder he got. One evening I came back from work and found him standing in my spot, arms crossed, smirking. He didn't even look apologetic when I asked him to move. He raised his hands like I was the one wasting his time. That was the night everything snapped. I won't lie, I felt something hot and horrible rise inside me. I'm not proud of it, but I told myself I had a right to be angry. He'd humiliated me in front of other tenants, treated my property like a public bench, and every polite route had failed. In a moment I can't fully explain, I went home, grabbed a bag of old bottles I'd been saving for recycling, and marched back. I smashed them against his car's window. I remember the sound, glass shattering like time breaking into pieces. He ran out swearing and yelling. I kicked the hood and then the headlights. Someone called the police. By the time the sirens arrived, his car was ruined, doors dented, windows caved in, paint scratched so deep you could see metal. I stood there panting, the adrenaline making my hands shake. I'd crossed a line that felt both liberating and terrifying. The police asked for statements. Karen's son screamed about being attacked, about how his life was ruined. Karen herself arrived like a hurricane, stern, eyes blazing, calling me every name in the book. She didn't bother to ask what led to it. She wanted a pound of flesh. The next days were a blur of civil claims, a police report, and the HOA calling my landlord asking for me to be evicted. Social media in the neighborhood lit up with two camps, those saying I'd finally stood up to the entitled family, and those saying I'd acted like a criminal. The law didn't care about my parking spot. It cared about damage and violent behavior. I learned that fast. Sitting in a cold interview room, watching the cell phone footage the neighbor had taken, I kept thinking about the times I'd tried to be civil. All those notices, the managers will handle it. The growing stack of ignored messages. It was like a slow burn that finally exploded. But watching myself on camera, the shouting, the kicking, I felt sick. I hadn't just defended myself. I had destroyed someone's property. Whether he was a brat or not didn't change the fact that I had done something illegal. The state pressed charges for criminal damage to property. Karen demanded restitution and a public apology. I had to face the consequences. The real turning point came when the court date rolled around. The judge listened to both sides with that impartial, bored look judges have. Karen's son cried about the car he'd inherited and how the repair would cost thousands. I could see his fear, but I also remembered the constant smugness, the arrogance.